We are the Reds Down Under, and this is our podcast.
This is Countdown to kick off your build-up for each and every Liverpool Premier League fixture. This time around the Reds, it's a short turnaround. They head to the Stadium of Light to face Sunderland. Tom is with me as always. Tom, this is a huge clash, and for mine, I'm expecting a hostile reception. Are you in the same boat as me, expecting a really tough atmosphere here?
Yeah, mate. I went to Sunderland years ago. It was probably about 10 years ago now. And it's a great away ground to go and watch football, no doubt. The atmosphere is always really good there. Well, it's always really good when Liverpool turn up. I don't know what it's like every week. But yeah, tough place to go and play football, mate. It's going to be under the lights there at the Stadium of Light. And those fans have had some good moments this season. I think they're unbeaten at home this season in the Premier League, which is unbelievable, isn't it, for a team that's been promoted, and they've already played Arsenal and City. It's going to be a tough one.
That stat is crazy, by the way, for a team that is newly promoted to the Premier League to have held Arsenal and City to a point, two teams that are in the title race, as well as being undefeated at home. That is incredible. But to the Reds themselves, Tom, I think we spoke about in last week's countdown to kick off for the Manchester City game who would start at right back. This time we've got a bit more of a tricky lineup. Obviously, Jeremy Frimpong seems like a bit more of a long-term injury. Joe Gomez, Arnie Slot sort of mentioned that he might be sidelined. And mate, the man who's covered a lot of ground, covered a lot of positions this year, Dominic Soboslai, will be out. What are you expecting? Could it be a case of Wataru Endo, Curtis Jones? What are you thinking in the right back department for this one?
It's an interesting one, and we don't have the luxury of seeing the press conference this week because of the timing of it. But normally we'll have the manager's notes from the press conference. It's a tough one. It's definitely been a problem area, hasn't it, for Liverpool this season? Bradley out for a long time, Frimpong out for now, and Joe Gomez has hopefully got enough fitness under his belt to come and play a part of the game. I think Joe Gomez will be the best fit at right back, but I don't think we should play him at right back. I think because we've only got two other senior centre halves in Kanate and Van Dijk, Joey Gomez is your only genuine real choice there at centre back, and I'd be trying to wrap him up in cotton wool as much as I could, and bring him in for Kanate and Van Dijk when needed. So right back leaves an interesting situation, doesn't it? This weekend, obviously, Soboslai is suspended, which is I still can't get it over. I can't get over the fact he is suspended. But that sort of, for me, leaves Endo. It leaves Curtis Jones, who can play there. And for me, I think Curtis Jones will probably play in this game. What do you think?
Look, I'm actually a bit opposite to you. I'm going to lean with Wataru Endo. Reason being, he hasn't played much minutes this year, has he? And you know what? He might not have the pace to win his individual duel or challenge throughout the 90, but I think he reads the game really well. And Curtis Jones, I can see for me. I've actually predicting him to start in the midfield. So yeah, I think Endo will cover that spot, but in the long term, I think in a perfect world, we'd have Soboslai back and free, ready to play. But with the fixtures coming, I wouldn't be surprised if Dom is on cotton wool, like you mentioned, for Sunday's game. Mate, flipping to the hosts, Sunderland. I mean, we touched on it earlier, held Manchester City and Arsenal to a draw at home this season. We know every point in a title race is crucial, and Sunderland, well, they've matched it with most teams this season, especially at home. How impressed have you been with them this season?
Very impressed. Very impressed. And Sunderland has always been a club that I've always really liked, actually. And I say I've been to Sunderland a couple of times on away days, and the people are fantastic, and they deserve a decent football team, and that's what they've got this season. I think they sit ninth at the moment in the Premier League, and for a promoted side is way above what you would expect. And look, I think the thing is about Sunderland this season, the manager's got them organised. They're an attacking threat. They're pretty solid in defence. But I think one thing we have seen from the manager as well is versatility in his tactics. And I think most weeks they play a 4-2-3-1, but they also play a very sort of expansive 4-3-3 with a flat midfield three and a really good wide players. But they've also gone a 3-5-2 in games as well, and I think that's one of the things going into this game is how will Sunderland set up, because they were very for me negative at Anfield really, but they always posed an attacking threat, and we spoke last week about the wide players for Manchester City and the threat that they would bring into the game, and I think this is an area for Sunderland as well that they'll try and get at Liverpool. And Talby, the Moroccan lad, just came back from the African Cup of Nations. He's like Italy. In World War II, he can play on either side. And it'd be interesting to see how they set up in the game, because I think he normally likes to play from the right hand side, but because Liverpool have obviously got to rotate at right back yet again, Talby might play from the left hand side for Sunderland, and he'd definitely be the player I'd be looking at as a threat.
You know what? Something that has impressed me with this Sunderland side, and you spoke about it there. Firstly, the skipper, Granit Xhaka, who's a well-known name to the Premier League, he's sort of taken this side. They aren't here to just be and make up the 20 teams in the Premier League. They're here to stay in there, and that's something that I've really liked about him. The skipper playing a more deeper role, but Tom, they just show up for each other, don't they? They're a team who, you remember the earlier clash at Anfield earlier in the season where they did go ahead 1-0. We did claw that one back to get a point, but you feel like this sort of game, Arnie Slot loves using the term low block. I sort of feel it could be a case of, that they hit on the counter at times, and sort of break us down, especially with sometimes how high our fullbacks go. If Endo does play right back, I think he won't go as high. But Kirkes, we know how much he loves to go forward. But mate, this is going to be a really, really tricky test. So where do you think Liverpool strengths are? Because this Sunderland team, like I mentioned, will most likely sit very defensive, and they're known to not concede many goals.
Yeah, it's an interesting setup in the attacking part of the pitch, because I know Liverpool have come in for some criticism for the way that they played against Manchester City, and the fact that we sort of played a front three and then Flo Wirtz very high up the pitch. And I think Florian Wirtz was isolated in the game a lot against Manchester City. I would expect him to have a lot more of the ball in this game, and to play in that sort of more of a classic number 10 role in that midfield. Because as you say, Sunderland's are pretty solid, and they've got Granit Xhaka, who's having a renaissance, isn't he, at Sunderland this season? So I think getting Florian Wirtz in the hole is going to be really key, because again, we speak about it week after week. If Liverpool get the opportunity to get Ekitike in behind, then we've always got a chance. And Gakpo was the invisible man, wasn't he, against Manchester City?
Very quiet, yeah.
He was very, very quiet. But he did have a moment actually where he cut inside, he played a through ball, and it didn't quite pay off, I think, in the end. Or I think it was the one he plays it into Ekitike. Ekitike bounces it for Wirtz, and Wirtz doesn't quite, get at it. But we need more from Cody Gakpo. We need to start producing a little bit more in this Liverpool side. But Cody on the left, Ekitike through the middle, and Salah on the right, who for me has been putting in some really decent performances. So, look, Liverpool have got the armory to put quite a few goals in past this Sunderland team. We really do, but it hasn't proven the case, has it, mate, recently?
No, we've had an up and down season, that's for sure. Mate, off the back of the Manchester City heartbreak, you spoke there about team news, and we'll get into our predictions and bold calls later, because I think I'm in the same path as you. I expect a fair few goals in this one. But to the Man City game itself, what do you think Liverpool need to improve on? Because obviously our only goal come from a spectacular free kick by Dominic Szoboszlai. We did concede 2 in the last few minutes, but what would you like to see more from Liverpool? Is it Hugo Ekitike and Wirtz potentially getting more on the ball and trying to feed each other?
If Liverpool play like we did against City, we'll win the game 4-0. I thought Liverpool played well against Manchester City. You're playing one of the best football teams in the world, without doubt. And Manchester City were fantastic in the first half. They really were. It was really tough to get near them. But I think we created some good moments. They should have had a red card. Arguably, there was a penalty on Salah as well. Ekitike misses a golden chance. Vert fluffed his lines, as I mentioned earlier. So Liverpool created moments, and if we play in the same way against Sunderland, we'll win the game comfortably, I think. But the last 10 minutes, obviously, and this is a term I've used before in the season, is Liverpool's players sort of turn to sand and disappear into the landscape, and that's what happened against Manchester City. The City equaliser just killed Liverpool. So I don't think too much needs to change from that City game. I think that the problems with conceding late goals is something which harmed us against Sunderland at Anfield earlier in the season, didn't it? So that's not something that's going to be fixed overnight. But I think if Arnie Slot goes out to the boys and says, "Look, play as you did against City, try and have as much intensity as you can in the game, and the goals will come." So that's what I'll be looking to do. More of the same.
More of the same. There it is. Yeah, I agree with you. I thought we controlled majority of, especially the early stages of the second half against Manchester City, deserving to go ahead. So more of the same. Let's hope we can pile the goals on this time compared to the Manchester City game. Well, Tom, something we always do here on Countdown to Kickoff is our one bold call. I don't think we've been very successful to start our predictions early on, but this one for me, I'm personally going to go. There's going to be more than 5 goals in this one. You touched early on the potential of free flowing football. I think the high energy crowd that Sunderland bring as well. Their players will feed off that. But at the same time, I sort of have I'm going to make a case for a very end-to-end clash. And I've watched Sunderland in patches this season, and they're not bad for turning a game into an end-to-end type product. But 5 goals or more for me. What about yourself?
I think I'm gonna go the complete opposite way in this game. I think it's gonna be a tight one. And my bold call, which feels quite bold for Liverpool this season, is a clean sheet and a good solid performance at the back. And people might say, Tom, that's not that bold, but I think it's pretty bold considering what we've been seeing. So I'm gonna say a clean sheet.
Clean sheet. We certainly need one of those as well, just to lift that spirit and start to build a bit of a back end of the season run, because I think Allison as well needs to gain a bit of confidence following that challenge he put in on Nunes, which ultimately decided the Manchester City game itself. Well, Tom, talking about that Manchester City game, our prediction was, I think, very much correct, except for the goal scorer heading into about the 85th minute. Then Bernardo Silva decides to equalise. But this week, I'm going for 3-2 Liverpool. I'm going to go for Ekitike to get 2 and Mo Salah to get 1. But I can see this one being really, really high scoring. I know you're the opposite, so what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think it's going to be one of them games where you go into a tough ground in the Premier League. It's going to be under the lights. The fans are going to be up for it, and I think that there's certain places that you go throughout a season, and Upton Park at West Ham used to be one of those stadiums. You didn't want to play them midweek, and I think Sunderland's one of them places as well, as is St James's Park up the road in Newcastle, and I think it's going to be a really combative sort of football match. I think that Sunderland will be aggressive in that the way they play football, but I think it really will be a tight game and a moment sort of football match. And for me, I'm going to go 1-0, and why not go Virgil van Dijk header from a set piece? But I'm really expecting Arnie Slot to. I'm really expecting Arnie Slot to really try and solidify what our defensive structure. I don't think he'll change too much from the game against City, but I can't imagine Liverpool being wide open in this football match. And I think we'll play as we did against City, trying to create moments and create chances in the right moments. And that's why I'm going to go for 1-0 and a set piece, which again has been rare, hasn't it, this season?
It's been very rare. Sometimes we've been on the conceding end of some of those, so it'd be really nice to score from a set piece and grab a clean sheet. But more importantly, if Liverpool do win this football match, they'll be the only team to defeat Sunderland at the Stadium of the Light this season. Very impressive by Sunderland, being impressed with the way they play. Well, Tom, thank you very much for coming on. Let's hope the Reds can get a much needed victory in the Premier League, and then we switch our attention to the FA Cup. If you haven't already, check out the weekly show here on Reds Down Under. But Tom, in the meantime, up the Reds.
Up the Reds.